morning, everyone. Buenos días. It's wonderful to be here and to discuss these really important issues. And I think the president really laid out pretty much of what we're up against right now in our country. And I know as all of us are gathering here this morning and we think of all of the news that is happening all around the world and even here at home, and we do know that we are in a very perilous situation in the United States of America. And the one thing I think in all of our minds is, how do we solve the issues that we have in our country? Because we know not only do they affect us in the United States, but they affect us all over the world. When I first learned about organizing, and I found that the one way that problems can be solved is that the people that are affected by the problems are the best ones because they know the solutions that they need for their community. But in order for them to be able to do that, they have to learn how to organize. And when I learned this, that number one, we tell people, you can't wait for somebody to come in from the outside and do it for you. You have to do it for yourselves. And when I found this out, I found that I had found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, okay? You know, growing up as many young people of color, I faced a lot of discrimination in my schools and in the community, abuse by the police, etc. And I belonged to several organizations. I belonged to my church organization. I belonged to a couple of community groups, but somehow they never seemed to make the difference, okay? There were a lot of activities supposedly to help people. And the big difference is that it's one thing to advocate for people, it's another thing to teach people how to advocate for themselves, okay? That is a big, big difference. And one of the problems that we have in organizing and again in philanthropy is that often we would go to different funders and we would lay out to them, look, at this is what people can do. You know, we can have poor people, they may not have a high school education, they may not speak English, some of them may not even be citizens, but they can do the work if you give them the opportunity to make it happen. And we have to show them that they can do that. With our foundation, I think you just saw a picture of a couple there of the Prado family. They were just two farm workers in an area. In their community, they did not have sidewalks, streets, gutters, street lights, parks, etc. But once we got them together and showed them, no, you can do this. You can go to the city council, you can go to the board of supervisors, you can go to the school boards, you can sue the school board for racism, and they did. And one of the victories that they accomplished in our Kern High School district in Bakersfield, California, the Kern High School district had expelled 2,500 students of color in 1 year. If you can imagine that, in 1 year. Well, they got the parents together, they filed a lawsuit, and that 2,500 expulsions dropped down to less than 21. Less than 21. And they have to now have Hispanic Heritage Month. They also have to have Black History Month to challenge the racism in the society, you know, and challenge the racism in the school district. And that is the one thing. We know we will never have enough money in the world to be able to hire enough staff people to solve the issues. So what we have to think about is, can we hire organizers, send them out into the community and teach people that they have power. Teach them and believe them that they have power. So the woman that you saw in the video, Leticia Prado, speaks very broken English, okay? But then after doing all of this community work, she decided to run for office. And she got herself elected to the school board, okay? When she was on the school board, they found out that one of the superintendents was stealing money from the district. So she got rid of him, okay? And then she ran for the water board. She got on the water board, found out that the manager that they had just hired had been fired for embezzling money from another district. She got rid of him. And then she called in the grand jury to find out where the money had been going, okay? So this is power. We want to talk about power. This is it. Put the power in the hands of the people, teach them how to do the work, and they can do it. And that way we know that we can make it happen. And some of the challenges that we have in our society are in some of the issues that cause, you might see, the inequities that we have. One of them, of course, is racism, okay? And I would like to ask anybody who funds education, let's include this in our education, that we are one human race, okay? We are one human race. And our human race began in Africa, Homo sapiens. We have one human race that began in Africa. What does that mean? That means that we are all Africans of different shades and colors. I would like to ask you to do something right now. Take the hand of the person next to you. Take the hand of the person next to you. And say to that person, hello, relative. Yeah, let's teach this also as part of all of the work that we do, because that way we can remind ourselves that we are all relatives and that the only way that we survive on planet Earth was to take care of each other, to protect each other, and to share what we have with each other. And then we know that our human race will be able to survive into the future, which of course this is what our conference here is all about, making sure that we survive. And then when we think of how we save our democracy in our country, because this is what it is all about. It's about governance. So as we organize people at the grassroots level, they have to learn about civic engagement, because poor people, and I say most people, don't feel that they have power. Let the politicians, let them do the work. Let them make the policies, let them govern. But we know that a lack of governance is what is happening right now in all of the issues that your president spoke about. And when we look at our own country and we see what's happening in the House of Representatives, then it is a lack of governance. So people have to know and they have to learn that they are the ones that not only that they have the power, but they have the obligation, they have the responsibility to elect good people to office. And this is at the school board level, at the city council level, board of supervisors level, our state legislature, and our Congress. So, because people have to understand that the people that they elect are the ones that are going to govern their lives. They're going to make the policies that are going to affect their families. Right now, we worry about our people's food stamps going to be cut off. We know that right now, we should have another immigration reform law that we had in 1986, okay? It's been 20 plus years. People don't understand these policy issues. And again, poor people, they can understand this. And once that they understand that they actually have the power to make a difference in who they elect, and all that they have to do is come together and again be informed and make sure that they vote. And a lot of young people, they think, well, I'm going to go on a march, for Black Lives Matter. I'm going to go on a march for immigration, and somehow that's going to solve the issue. But no, they have to understand. They have to understand policies, and this is their responsibility. Senator Robert Kennedy, just before he died, before he was assassinated, he said, we have obligations and responsibilities to our fellow citizens. And if we can remember that, so that teaching people about civic engagement is so important. And so that they understand that they are the ones that have the power that are going to it's going to make the difference. We have many elections. There was one senator in our area, she won by 14 votes. 14 votes. So if we can include that in any kind of education that we do in our community, that people have to engage politically. And if everyone can engage and realize that they're the ones that are going to be electing the people that are going to govern them, it is going to make so much difference in our world. So let's put that as part of the agenda. And I know that many foundations, hopefully this is just true of the past and not of the present, that they would not give any funding to organizations if they engaged in registering people to vote, in doing any kind of political action. Now, political action doesn't have to be partisan, but just saying that people get out there and register to vote, this has got to be part of what you do. So we cannot, not put that in the back burner. That's got to be right at the very, very front of what we do, okay? So I just want to say that to all the funders out there. When I first learned, as I said before, that if you get registered people to vote, get them to vote, and elect good people, I thought this is the way you make democracy work. It's simple. It's simple, but somehow we make it more complicated. We make it more complicated to the point that people are afraid to vote, and they think there's something wrong if they vote. And I don't know how that happened. My father was a member of the state legislature in New Mexico, where I was born. I remember when I was 8 years old, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt did the fireside chat. Everything stopped at home so we could sit down and listen to the president. And this is what we have to make patriotism a reality. I remember putting a bumper sticker on the car for FDR when I was 8 years old. I still remember that. So this has got to be part of what we do, civic engagement, so make people understand how the process works and how they are the part, and they are the only ones that can keep democracy alive. The other thing is, again, education. We've got to make sure all of the things that we heard this morning, that this is included in our education. But education is starved right now in our country. And at the same time, we have, I'm going to call them the haters, okay? You know who they are? The haters out there. They want to criminalize women, criminalize our LGBTQ community, criminalize immigrants. So we have to really think of how can we withstand, how can we counter all of this hate that is happening in our country and all of this division that is happening in our country. I want to mention one other thing. I talked about women, but I think that many people do not even know that we do not have the Equal Rights Amendment for women in our Constitution. People say, really? We don't have that? Yeah, we're one of the few countries in the world that has not ratified the Equal Rights Amendment. It's stuck right now up there in Congress. In our dysfunctional Congress, the ERA is sitting there right now, waiting to be approved by the Congress of the United States. So I think if some of us in the room don't know that this is happening, think of the people out there on the ground that they don't know. Civic education is so crucial. Education is so crucial if we're going to be able to solve the issues in our community. And it's all of our responsibility. People in our grassroots organization, people in philanthropy, we have got to come together now. We have got to come together now to stop the fascism that exists in our society, because it is here. It is here.